Today we're going to talk about the last P, which is promotion. If you notice, the title is Integrated Marketing Communications, Advertising, Sales, Promotion, Public Relations. A little bit later I'll tell you what we mean by integrated marketing communications and how that fits into the whole notion of promotion. So let's begin by looking at the objectives for today. What we're going to do is talk about the process and the advantages of integrated marketing communications. We'll define the 5 promotional tools and discuss some of the sort of major decisions involved in developing an advertising program and how sales promotion campaigns are used and how companies use public relations. Now, promotion is all about communication. It is telling the target market or other interested publics that you have a particular product or marketing mix for them. And so it's all about communications. And so you can't think about promotion without looking at a model for communications. And so the organization is considered a sender, and it sends, it encodes information, what it wants to communicate, the positioning of the product through advertising or packaging or some form of communication that goes through a channel like television ad or through a magazine. It then gets decoded by that consumer and hopefully interpreted. And if you remember back to the consumer behavior lecture, we talked about how perception can be different and can break down in the process. And so marketers have to be very concerned about sort of making sure that what they want to communicate through the promotion medium or through the promotion mix is in fact getting to that final consumer. Part of the problem is that we get all sorts of noise, things that distract us. When we're driving along and we see a billboard, someone may be talking to us. When we're watching a television commercial, someone may be talking to us. There's all sorts of noise that affects whether the message is received. And so marketers have to do market research. They have to be able to check the feedback and make sure that consumers are indeed receiving the message that they want to receive. So it sort of brings in a couple of aspects of consumer behavior and marketing research. So when marketers think about designing effective communication, they begin by thinking about what is the target audience, or who are they, how can we sort of get a message to them, determining what the response is that we want them to have. Do we want them to purchase a product or think more favorably about us, or just generally be aware of it? Design the message that we're going to communicate, choose the medium that the message will be in, and then collect feedback to make sure that we've done the job correctly. So let's begin and look at what's called the communication mix or the promotion mix. The two terms are used synonymously. The first element has to do with personal selling, and this is sort of personal part of the communications, face-to-face communications through personal selling. And so this is where the buyer and seller are communicating and talking back and forth, and the role of a sales representative, whether it represents a manufacturer, wholesaler, retailer, is to gather market intelligence. Again, they're the ears and eyes of the organization, solve customer problems, that is to make the sale. And so salespeople are viewed as problem solvers. Customers have problems or needs to be fulfilled, and the salesperson will show how their product is a solution to that problem. They'll locate and build relationships with customers, usually on a long-term basis, and provide follow-up service. They tend to be used for limited or sort of very extended problem-solving purchase decisions, so primarily in the business-to-business type of decisions where companies are buying pieces of equipment or ordering sort of office supplies on a contract where there's a lot of decisions that are going on, and it's an extensive decision process. So you're using salespeople to try to help provide solutions to that process. And as a result, it takes a lot of time for salespeople to be involved in that order. So it tends to be the most expensive. You're paying an individual and all the expenses that go with it. So it's a long-term investment on the part of the company. But it's the most effective because it's face-to-face communication. You can adjust the message if you see that the sender is confused, or you can sort of ask additional questions. So it's the most effective way of communications, but there's a cost associated with that. Now, if we go back and switch from personal to non-personal medium, We have advertising, public relations, and direct marketing. So let's talk a little bit about advertising in the mix. Advertising is a persuasive form of communications. So it's meant to be persuasive. It's designed to try to get you to some desired response, to buy a product, to stop smoking, to not drink and drive, to donate to the Cancer Foundation. Whatever it is, there's a behavior associated with it, and that is sort of defined by a target market. What you're able to do, because it is mass communication, is reach a geographically dispersed group. It allows for sort of repetition of the message, and that you can, that consumers will often see it repeatedly, and so they can allows that message to sink in. It's really great for building imagery and positioning, and there's all sorts of different provide all sorts of possibilities. There's television that offers sight and sound, and magazines that offer full color, and newspapers that offer sort of immediate sort of responses. One of the downsides is that there's a lot of fragmentation, in that if you look at, for example, the television industry, there's 250 channels on satellite, and it becomes very difficult to reach a large number of people with just a few commercials. So it's actually becoming a fairly expensive medium. Now, public relations. Where advertising is paid for, public relations is unpaid for. And so these are strategies to try to improve the image of the organization, or handle a crisis, or launch a new product, to try to announce something about the company. And so these are news stories, features, press conferences, websites that are all used to try to communicate information about the organization and any products associated with the organization. And so a company would release a press release, and then they hope that the newspaper or the radio or television station will pick it up. But they don't have any control whether it will be a small article or a front page article, because it's not paid for. It's up to the medium to decide how they will use that information. It's very sort of cost efficient, but there's much less control, and it can be sort of proactive in that you can generate your press release to try to control and head off a situation, or it can be reactive in that you're responding to a situation. The last type of mass selling is direct marketing. It is also paid. It's sort of often thought of as, for example, junk mail or junk email. It's directly targeted at sort of specific people, and you're looking for an immediate response, and it can be executed through television, but most often it's through the mail or through email. And probably one of the biggest problems is that with software now blocked out by a lot of blocking software or spam software. Finally, we have sales promotion. These are short-term tactical incentives, and they're trying to provide some sort of immediate response. There are things like coupons, contests, premiums, samples, trying to sort of elicit some sort of quick response. So there's a contest, and hopefully consumers will see that contest and perhaps respond by buying the product. So all these are ways that the organization can communicate with their various customers and publics. Now, the idea of an integrated communication strategy is that all these different elements have to be coordinated. In other words, they have to give the same message. And so just like in the marketing mix, where it has to be coordinated, where the image of the product has to be the same in terms of in the pricing strategy, in terms of the packaging and the branding, when we communicate, whether we give a message through a press release, through an advertisement, through some sort of couponing, where our personal salespeople are giving a message, everything has to be coordinated and consistent so that you don't get consumer confusion, and you're able to create the image and the positioning that you want for a particular product. So companies work to try to coordinate their communication strategy, and that's why the term sort of promotion mix is slowly being replaced by integrated marketing communications.